When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This is the way.
We wanted men.
I have spoken.
Welcome to episode 127 of the Smugglers Galaxy podcast, your favorite Star Wars podcast for smugglers in the galaxy. I do have one thing to say before we get going this morning, Jason, because it's bugging the crap out of me. Jazzwares, quit with the chases. You're killing me. You're effing killing me. It sucks when you've got something you want that bad, a ship you've been waiting years for. Finally come out. You can't find it in Atlanta, but by God, you can find it for $500 on eBay. A $10 or what is it, $17 ship. I understand, Max, you've told us why you're doing the chases. I understand, but doggone it, it's aggravating. So, hi, Jason.
Hi.
How you doing, man?
I'm all right.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's aggravating because you're trying to find them in Atlanta. You can't find them in Atlanta, or you find them in Atlanta, you're too late. And I've seen it all too many times. You get these idiots in Target that are checking their phone in the collectibles aisle. So people are, good for them trying to make a living, but doggone it, people on eBay, quit paying $500 for that ship. Give it a couple of months or maybe a year, and you'll find it for maybe $50.
I've heard a lot of people, and by a lot of people, just a handful, say that that's the only one that they want from Wave 2, is that Sabine ship.
Uh-huh.
I've also seen people starting to get a little frustrated on, and this just could be confirmation bias for all I know, because I am frustrated too. But I'm seeing people online and in a couple conversations that they're just frustrated with the chases because we've been trained for 40 years to collect them all.
Right.
And you can't get them all because they're exclusive, or you've got people hunting it because they can make a quick $400 or $500 on eBay by selling this thing that's just hanging on the store shelves. They don't want it. I saw someone at the toy swap yesterday with a Chase Luke Skywalker and a Chase Moff Gideon, two of them. And I'm like, dude, you didn't want them. You're just buying them to make a buck off of me.
Right.
And vehicles, but
I don't think he had them for like $60, which at that point it's a pain in my ass tax that you don't want to hunt it down. You can't find it. $60 I can kind of understand, but $500-$600, $400 or $500 for that Sabine just pisses me off.
So I left in my video that I made yesterday of the Powder Springs Toy Show, I put a little asterisk. Please, if you don't want it, leave it on the shelf for someone who does.
Yeah.
Don't be an ass.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest problem with the chases for me. It's creating this environment where the secondhand people, the scalpers, are going to buy it to make a profit, and it hurts me. It doesn't hurt Jazzwares. It hurts me. Right.
It hurts us as collectors, because Jazzwares, they're getting their money. They don't care.
Anyways,
I'm sure they care, but they've already made their money.
Yeah. Happy Star Wars Podcasting Day 2023.
Yay! What a way to start it off.
Yeah, so the real reason that they have February 7th as the Star Wars Podcasting Day is because it's the 24th anniversary of Jedi Talk, the very first Star Wars related podcast, which premiered on February 7th, 1999, excuse me, that's a little too early. But there's over 90 podcasters participating this year. So if you're listening because of Star Wars Podcast Day, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And go to Star Wars Podcast Day on Facebook to check out the other podcasts. Maybe you'll find your newest favorite Star Wars podcast by checking them out.
There are thousands of us out there. So thanks for listening to us.
There's 3.02 million podcasts right now. So
wow.
Thank you for taking your time to listen to these two dudes.
Right. And crack a beer wherever unless you're driving. Don't crack a beer.
Don't crack a beer. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not cool.
So how was the toy show for you yesterday?
Toy show was cool. I got a lot of good stuff. I'm in the process of customizing some Cantina characters. There's this guy on Instagram called Landspeeder Luke, and he just dropped two custom heads that are STL files for printing yourself. It's the Scream guy, the ghost face guy. His name is Ellis Herlot. And then there's Hem Dazon, which is the character that first pops up when they cut to the cantina inside. Everybody knows this alien that pops up. He looks like a Hammerhead. Yeah, I would say more like E.T. than Hammerhead. Maybe like if E.T. and Hammerhead had a baby, it's Hem Dazon. So I got those, and I finished the Scream guy. And yesterday to tie it all back together, yesterday at Powder Springs, I got a Greedo figure, a Bib Fortuna, and a Jawa, and I'm going to take pieces from all of them to make Hem Dazon.
There you go.
I also got a Han in Carbonite, but without the Carbonite. I just got the Han.
The vintage Han and Carbonite.
The vintage Han.
Last 17.
Yeah, so I've got that guy. I just need a Carbonite block at some point. And then Adam Throne had the sorry. He had the
we were doing that all day yesterday. Adam Thrawn. No, Throne. Wait, what?
Yeah, he had the Disco album for $2.
Dude, that was a great find.
Yeah, and so I put it on my album, my record player, and it was like it was warped or something. It kept like throwing the needle a few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But then you would look at it sideways. I would look at it sideways, and I couldn't see anything that was warped. I'm like, what is going on? Because there's no scratches. Something was off, and it was warped, so it doesn't play right. But I'm happy to have it because I never thought I would find that one in the store.
Right. And you're buying it for the art. You're not buying it to listen to Star Wars Disco, because if you really wanted to listen to Star Wars Disco, that's what Spotify's for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I also, it's been 2 weeks. So since we last recorded, I know for people listening, it was just a week ago, but there's plenty of other stuff that I picked up this week.
So what else you pick up? I
got the Best Buy had the Vintage Collection Poe X-Wing for like $70. It was on sale from $100.
Is that the white and orange one?
Yes. And so I had some coupons for Best Buy, so I was able to get that for half off, basically. So I got that, and then Hasbro shipped out the Vintage Collection Andor, Val, Artillery Trooper, Luke from The Mandalorian, Cal Kestis, the Klatooinian Raider, and I also didn't have the Anakin Padawan version from Attack of the Clones, so I got all of those figures this week. But
I was talking to Kelly, and he was saying that there was a lot of stuff shipping, like all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm. That's a complete wave that I just got, except for the Anakin. I'm not sure how I missed that one, but I didn't have it, so now I do. Awesome. And then I was at you were in Nollins, and I was checking all the Targets because I knew you wouldn't be hitting them up. I went to Roswell. I went to Roswell Target, and they didn't have anything. And so I'm just like checking the shelves and rechecking them to make sure that I'm not missing anything on the shelf there for the chases. And for some reason, I just reached over to pick up one of the LAATs.
And
I pick it up, and it was supposed to be the Crumb Bomber, because it's maroon, but on the side, it's the green version, which is, I looked it up earlier to try to remember what it was. Now I can't remember, but it's the Clone Skull, which is supposed to be on the green one.
Right.
And so I'm looking at this thing, trying to figure out what am I looking at, because this isn't right. It's maroon, not green. Because if it's maroon, it's supposed to have Salacious Crumb. If it's green, it's supposed to have the skull. But this is maroon with the skull. And I'm like, what is this? And I start messaging you, and we kind of figured out that it's a factory error. This is not supposed to be on the store shelves. And so I quickly snatched that up and brought it home.
And the funny thing is I probably looked at that 2 or 3 times before then, because I'd been at that Target a bunch looking for Chase, and you just, those are the lats, and you just go about your day.
Yeah. It had some shelfware, so I would assume people have been looking at it, but they didn't really look at it.
Right.
And if it had not been the Salacious Crumb one, I probably wouldn't have just picked it up to look at it and just, ooh, Crumb.
I love that little bastard.
Look at that guy. So, in conclusion, that's all I picked up this week, which is
sweet.
Past 2 weeks, actually.
Yeah. The toy show, man, it was good yesterday. It felt better yesterday for some reason, maybe because they had a good amount of vendors.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt bigger, and maybe because the one in December had been canceled, so people were trying to make up for that. I had a good time. I showed up about 45 minutes late because I was just like, we were taking it easy, and we didn't really have a whole lot of money to spend, even though we spent money. But it was good. I thought they had a good selection of toys like normal. Kelly had picked up some Ewoks figures. He picked up oh geez, what was it? The blue guy, the medicine man. He picked that guy up for like $100.
Yep.
Complete. Low gray, even though it wasn't complete, but still.
I thought it was.
No, it was missing this whatever low gray has. I can go look. Still. Anyway, and then he picked up one of the other green guys for like $100 for the pair. So that was a steal. I thought it was a good show. I know I keep saying that about every show, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that time. I saw a lot of people there that we hadn't seen in a minute. I've actually got to message Adam because he's got those. I forgot to go back and get those TVC Mandos he had because he had the Loyalist and the Darth Maul one. So I'm going to message him and have him bring him a paint night and pick them up from him, because those are some, even though I don't do the TVC figures, those are some good looking figures, and they don't take up a lot of room.
Yeah. People were asking me, hey, where's Glenn? And I go, I don't see him and I don't hear him, so he must not be here yet. And they're like, oh, you shouldn't say that. I'm like, no, he would say, yeah, that's me. I'm the loudest one here. And
exactly.
And then
it is helping, since I got my hearing aid. I'm realizing how loud I am. And when I was with my family down on the bayou, it's like, wow, we are some pretty loud people.
Well, maybe that's why you're loud. But of course, when I finally see you at the swap, you're just talking to people. And I'm like, what the hell? How long have you been here quietly talking? Are you incognito?
No, I just probably my hearing aid's helping with that. So probably. I'm trying to make a conscious effort not to be the loudest person in the room, but maybe it's helping. I don't know. But yeah.
You were not the loudest person yesterday. Let me say that.
Well, that was good. Good. Maybe it also because I had to pee, so I was maybe doing that. I don't know. But like I said, man, we saw a lot of people we hadn't seen in a couple of months, and I picked up what did I pick up? I have it right here. I picked up a Bo-Katan TVC. I picked up the Han Solo Black Series in Carbonite block. I've been waiting on that one for a minute. I just didn't feel like paying what people were asking for it.
Really? How much were they asking?
They were going from anywhere from $15 to $30. I didn't feel like paying full Black Series price for that figure, because I think it was 15 retail.
Yeah,
and then it was going for like $20 to $30 on the secondary market. And Daniel had one he did the Bo-Katan and that for $20. So I was like,
nice.
Yeah, I can pay that. That's a good price.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I picked up a bunch I've been toying with the He-Man Revelation figures since I saw them about a month ago in the store. They had the new wave out, and I picked up a bunch of those. So I went back. I picked up, what did I pick up? I picked up the Man-at-Arms, Merman, one of the other bad guys, Stinkor, Skeletor, He-Man, and Battle Cat. So it was one of those. If I'm gonna do it, because they had a guy that had a pretty good price, as the guy that normally has a lot of stuff that's newer Target stuff. He had some of the older, like the older wave of those lines, so I picked those up for like $70 for, well, not the Man at Arms. I bought that separately, but I got a good deal on those. I was like, if I'm going to do it, I can do one big wave, do it in one foul swoop, and I'll probably pick some more up next meetup. I don't know. We'll see. I got the Battle Cat's like, he's a 6-inch Battle Cat, so he's huge, but he looks awesome. So he'll take up a shelf by himself.
Yeah, he will.
But there's some badass looking figures. Those are the figures where you're looking at them. They're $25-$30 on the shelf, and you're getting the alternate head sculpts, you're getting the alternate arms, you're getting a bunch of weapons, and you just want to look at Hasbro and be like, come on, people. Look at what people are doing for the same amount of money. Yeah. But, I also understand that they got to, they have that Star Wars tax, but whatever. I'm just, at this point, I'm kind of over everything, and I'm waiting to find, I think truthfully, I'm waiting for the Ahsoka show to come and have a whole bunch of Rebel stuff next year or in 5 years, whenever Hasbro decides to make them.
Yep. Yeah, I'm like customizing these figures and how different they look from other Black Series figures, even though I'm using parts and I'm just painting things. I'm like, this would be so easy for Hasbro to do.
Yeah.
But they don't.
I don't know why they don't, but whatever. I know people are already tuning out because they're like, you talk about Hasbro all the time, but what else are we going to talk about? I don't know. We don't. I don't know. Maybe we don't.
That's feedback. I need to incorporate that because I've got a whole section here in the news about Hasbro. So
I'm just talking out my hole in my head too. But yeah, it is. It does suck when you look at those figures and you look at what you're doing with the customization, and then I'm starting to get not starting, but you're starting to dip your toe, or at least me, into the hardcore custom figures. That are artsy figures. So it's different. There's a different way to collect right now. And I think Hasbro may be feeling that. I don't know, but yeah. Do you want to hear what else I picked up?
Sure.
All right. This is like, again, over the last 2 weeks, but like eBay has been good to me because they had, somebody had a Bill and Ted.
About that. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, we'll talk. Well, eBay finally was good to me because I flew under the radar, on some things, but they had a Bill and Ted. All it says is like Bill and Ted Orion Films. It's a cassette tape. I have no clue what it says, but you could tell it's a pre-production something. Either they did it to, I don't know if it's a soundtrack. I don't know if it's parts for the movie. Somebody that maybe you'd play a radio commercial on it or something, because I don't have a cassette tape, so I don't know what's on it, but pick that up for like $5. What else did I pick up? Bill and Ted. I picked up here I am saying I'm not going to get into graded comics, and then I picked up a Bill and Ted graded comic for like $10. It was like $25 with shipping.
Yeah, but I mean, that's your focus.
Yeah. It was one of the ones that came out, like they came out in 2020. Okay. But for the price, and it was graded, it was hard to pass up. And I also picked up a loose phone booth for Bill and Ted. So, nice. And like Narayan was saying last week, how stuff comes to you when people know what you collect. That phone booth just came to me. Somebody had messaged me saying, hey, I have a loose phone booth. Do you want it? And he shot me a price, and next thing I know, a week later, it's in my mailbox.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'd been looking for one, because that was the only piece I didn't have loose. And my wife is like, well, you have one sealed. I needed a loose one to go with all my other loose figures.
Yeah.
So, what else did I pick? Oh, I picked up, this is a drunk buy from Sideshow. While I'm in New Orleans, Sideshow had put that they had some Back to the Future statuettes for like $40. So I bought some of those. I was like, whatever. They look cool. And to go back for my back, put more crap in my Back to the Future focus. And another thing we picked up, I also do Texaco stuff, but it's not like hardcore. It's when I see something cool, I picked it up. They had, the guy had some maps, like the free maps that you get at the gas station. And then we were talking to him about stuff, and he had a big sign. I'm like, that sign's too big. And then he showed me he had one that was it was a sign that they put on oil rigs, on oil platforms, so that like if you have an oil, people are trying to get oil out of your land to notify, identify stuff. So I got like a porcelain sign that says Texaco, and it's got a whatever oil rig that they had it on. So that'll go on my back deck.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
welcome to Texaco.
Yeah. Well, I do have a Texaco tattoo if you hadn't seen it.
No, I'm not. I don't have that level of brand. Even with Star Wars, I don't have that level of brand favoritism, allegiance. I don't know what I'm.
Well, it's more of an ode to both my grandfathers. They retired from Texaco.
Oh.
So that's sort of, and when you do something like that, I guess especially in South Louisiana, when you're like whatever your trade, that sort of becomes your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Especially, and that's that's what they were known for. And then my uncle, he worked for Texaco until he retired from. He started with Texaco, and then they bought out by another company, and then ended up retiring with them. So it's like it's a family thing with me. So that's sort of why I do it.
And here I thought it was some sort of Back to the Future 2 thing because it's the gas station in the future. Welcome to Texaco.
Yeah, I have those minifigs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sealed in package.
I had the playset, actually. There's a Texaco playset, Micro Machines.
Yeah, I've got that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing incredible, but it's a good crossover. I got both of those sealed.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I was on eBay yesterday. I've been watching this eBay auction for 7 days. Mr. Pagano alerted me to it. It was Imperial TIE pilots. It was that pack that they were all in, but the card back was upside down.
Oh, nice.
So it was a factory error. And the auction ended at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. And I'm just like, that's perfect. I'm all for that. So I was watching this thing, and I had to drop Harrison off at robotics, and they drop him off, and I had 2 minutes left in the auction. So I pull over and I'm watching this thing count down. It was at $12.50. The cost of the auction was at $12.50, and we get down to like 5 seconds, and I throw out a bid, and I was immediately outbid. So it's 2 seconds. I bid $38.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch it. You're the highest bidder. 1 second, 0. And I'm like, oh, I win. And then immediately I get this message, you've been outbid. Jeez. How did that happen? I was so pissed off because I had watched it go from 1 second to 0 with my bid as the top bid.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost it by $1.
Damn. That just means somebody probably bid $50 or they had a bot. eBay, there again, when you find something that people like, I don't know what happens. I've watched them plenty of times where you're watching something and it's at a reasonable price. It's at, $300-400. And when it closes, and you watch it count down and it's at $300-400. And then when it closes at $7 or $8.
Mm-hmm.
So and then that must mean that there were multiple bots or however bidding it out for it. And you got to figure out what the algorithm is on that eBay stuff, because it's ridiculous.
And it said something like 4 other people were trying to outbid it.
Wow. And I don't know if you were to, throw a stupid bid out. Oh, excuse me. Let's say you threw a $50 bid out there, and to try to battle those bots, I mean, you have to be ready to pay the $50.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I know I've played the game with eBay where if I'm bidding something and I really want it, but then somebody, you could tell that somebody bid you way up or bid way over. I'm that asshole and will bid them up. So like if something's at $25 and then you bid it to 30 and then somebody outbid you. So I'll bid 31. Somebody outbid you 35. Somebody outbid you. So you run the auction up just to be a jerk. But I've done that too.
Yeah. A part of me was like, this guy's not walking away with $12.50. Like that's not happening.
Right. Exactly. So, you don't want to beat somebody. Exactly. You don't want somebody to get away from it for $12.50 because it's worth even, it may not be physically worth the $12.50, but it's worth more than $12.50 to you.
But yeah, it was a bummer, and I lost out. So
that just sucks, dude.
I also did, because we didn't have a podcast last week. I mean, we did, but we didn't record. You were in Nolans, and I did some more research on monkey lizards,
Yeah.
trying to figure out when they shifted from the small hands to the big hands. And I looked at the Black Series creature pack that they released for Disney parks. They had big hands. Obviously, the Disney monkey lizard that you put on your shoulder has giant hands. Kind of in new media, like The Mandalorian, I looked at the screen grab and it looked like they had bigger hands. And then in the Clone Wars, they had bigger hands. So I'm like, when did they shift from Return of the Jedi, when he had small hands, to this larger hand version? And I'm like sitting there looking at my monkey lizards, and it just kind of hit me when I was looking at the Kenner one. The Kenner one does not look like the Return of the Jedi one. He's got big hands.
Okay.
And they probably did that to put the center of gravity in a certain spot so he wouldn't fall, or to make him more stable.
Right.
And so knowing Filoni and how he incorporates like Hammerhead and Greedo and Walrus Man into the Clone Wars, looking like their Kenner counterpart, he probably said, this is the version that monkey lizard that people are used to, the ones that they played with. So let's make the ones in the Clone Wars look like this. And he probably just went off from that.
Gotcha. Maybe.
So that's my theory.
Cool.
And then I have some news, so we'll get into news. And
I forgot one thing. My wife, I was kind of excited for her. She picked up the Ahsoka Forces of Destiny doll.
mm-hmm.
She picked one up for like half price on eBay. So,
oh, I thought she picked that up at the show yesterday.
no, that came off eBay, dude. She found it off. Somebody had it in Europe, and she messaged him and was like, "Hey, will you do like $100 shipped?" And he was like, "Sure." I was like, "You realize that's like a $200 to $300 figure?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, I know."
She's got all the deals.
I don't know how she does it. So that was her cool pickup for Star Wars.
She's got all the deals.
Let's get in the news, and then we could talk over my trip to New Orleans.
Okay.
And
Jedi Survivor has been postponed 6 weeks to April 28th. They probably needed more time to work on it, but you need a next gen console to play it. So I'm kind of out. I'm not buying a new console to play the game.
yeah,
Especially with the. Go ahead.
that we're old.
Yeah. Especially with the Legend of Zelda having a sequel out. If I was going to buy a console, I'd buy the Nintendo Switch. So I can play that, not this.
Yeah,
that's my personal preference. Can
you play that on the Switch?
I don't know. That's a good question. Should look into that because that might be worth it.
Yeah.
There's a surprise announcement this week that Star Wars Visions is streaming season 2 on May 4th. It involves more cartoon studios, and they're all from all over the world. So this is not like it's going to be an anime special, which I'm kind of excited about.
Yeah.
Titles of the shorts are Sith by El Gueri. That's the name of the studio. Screechers Run by Cartoon Saloon. In the Stars by Punk Robot. I Am Your Mother by Aardman, which is probably the one that I'm the most excited about because Aardman Studios is the one that made Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run.
Oh.
They do the claymation stop
that sounds
motion.
Fun.
Yeah, so they're just whatever they do, I kind of watch it because I really enjoy their work. They have done animated stuff before, but if this is like some sort of stop go animation thing, I'm all for this one. Journey to the Dark Head by Studio Mur, The Spy Dancer, Studio La Cachette, which is probably some sort of French thing. The Bandit of Golak, 88 Pictures. The Pit by Dart Shijijo. I don't know if I said that wrong, right? And Ayu's Song by Triggerfish. So I don't think this is all going to be anime, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. If it's going to be different animation styles, I'm cool with that. I enjoyed Visions for what it was. There was 2 or 3 that stood out that were awesome, and then the rest of them kind of sucked.
I haven't finished this first season.
They had the cool one. I enjoyed the Ronin, The Last Jedi. I enjoyed the band one. Everybody kind of poo-pooed on that one, but I enjoyed it because I'm a band
You're
guy.
in a band, yeah.
I'm in a band, so I enjoyed that one. And then there was another one, but shoot, I can't even remember it.
The one with Doogie Howser on top of a Star Destroyer with his lightsaber flashing into eternity. I was like, this just isn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, a lot of people had that problem with that one, but there was a third one, that shows how awesome they were when I can't even remember the third one I liked. Maybe the little girl, the one with the little girl, that one. I don't know. There you go, people. That's our review on Star Wars Visions.
Yeah, I'll finish it before the next one. We'll see. Moving on, Micro Galaxy Squadron. Some pod racers showed up in Australia this week, which is really weird because they say on the box Series 1, and I thought Series 1 concluded, where our Series 2 is hitting shelves now. Series 3 is the LAATs, the LATs. This is a single box, which included Sebulba and Anakin and their pod racer. It had clear stands. No official word from Jazzwares as to what this is, but it's still a pretty cool thing, and I'm happy that it comes with stands. And I think you can kind of pivot them on the stands so you can make it look like they're banking. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
The stands are the one thing I really think Jazzwares needs to package separately, because I from what I've seen of them, like you were saying that they bank and stuff. That the stuff. Did you ever open up your
Yes.
Yeah. The set? So what did you think of the stands?
The stands, you can't really pivot them out, so they have to be standing straight up, because when you move the arms down or to the side, it off centers the center of gravity for the stand itself shifts, and the stand will fall over because of the weight of the vehicles.
Uh-huh.
So you really need to have them straight up. You can have it out just a little bit, but not too much, because there's a couple different accesses to pivot it on. And then you can kind of just bank them so they kind of look like they're in the middle of a turn and they're chasing each other.
Uh-huh.
When I walk into the room, that's the one that kind of stands out because they are up and above the rest of them. So it works for that set. But if that's the plan, I don't know if that's going to work.
Gotcha. So back to pod racing on Micro Galaxy Squadron.
Mm-hmm.
I
Cool.
thought those might have been bootlegs, but they're
I did
legit.
too.
I mean, the way that they're showing up and the way that people are going with it, I think that stuff's legit.
Yeah, but why does it say Series 1? That's the weird part.
Right. I don't know. I don't know why people would do that. Why they would do that unless it's a mistake, or like, is that the only one that's popped up? Is that one?
I think so.
I mean,
think so.
Could it be like a prototype snuck out of the factory?
If it was a prototype, I would say Series 1.
Maybe they hadn't finished the packaging yet.
Maybe. I don't know.
That would be my assumption, is that it's a prototype for one of the later series, and it just got out the factory. Because I have heard stories of the golden days or olden days or whatever, where people were finding prototypes on store shelves.
Or factory errors.
Or factory errors or whatever. That would be my assumption. I don't know. What would be really cool is I heard that there was another show or something. I don't think it was in the States. I think it was abroad, that Jazzwares was showing off.
Toy Fair London.
Okay, so Toy Fair London, they were showing off like the 3rd and 4th and 5th series.
Oh.
And it would be fun to hear somebody who was there, because I don't know if they had to sign NDAs or they were just being cool. Shoot, what am I thinking? But it'd be cool to hear confirmation, like, yes, this is Jazzwares is doing this, and they just messed up and put it out too soon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, who knows? Maybe it is part of Series 1 and they just never got around to shipping it in time. I don't know.
But they would be on the packaging, though, wouldn't it?
Not some of those bigger ones, like the LAATs. They don't include all the other in Series 3. It's just the other LATs. I don't know which ones. I don't know how to refer to that vehicle. But yeah, it doesn't say these are all Series 3. It's just like collect the other 4 in this line.
Gotcha. Oh, maybe, yeah, like you said, it's either a factory error or prototype or, oh man, we forgot to ship these.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would be surprised if they did forget to ship them out of Series 1.
Mm-hmm. So Hasbro had a live stream this week. They're going to be at Celebration London, and they have an exclusive 40th anniversary Revenge of the Jedi Darth Vader molded red, and it comes with a removable poster. So that's available if you're going to Celebration London. I don't feel like I want that one. I don't like the repaints.
I mean, it's a cool idea, but then you better be making the Luke too.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to find a boat, and then you're going to spend.
It'd have to be like a San Diego Comic-Con Revenge of the Jedi Luke Skywalker, maybe.
Be such a pain in the ass to complete. That's going to be a pain in the ass set to complete, man.
Yeah, that would be. They also released or announced the Black Series Deluxe Endor Rebel Trooper, much like the Hoth Rebel Trooper. It's got removable faces. One of that is the Rebel Trooper Nick's, I think is Saint or Sant or something like that. Comes on the 40th anniversary card back. It's got the removable faces, just like the Hoth Trooper, and I like that. I like the card back. I like the figure. So I was excited about that.
See, there again. Why the hell, Hasbro, can't you do that with a lot more figures? Because you're gonna make us happy when you can do something like that. You swap the face, you could swap the accessories. So army builders are gonna buy 3 or 4 or 5, 6, whatever that figure, because you can army build that figure and still be an individual figure.
Yeah.
Damn it, Hasbro.
Damn it. They announced the vintage collection Darth Vader with the helmet reveal. His hand will come sliced off, so you can pop the hand on. This is from the end of Return of the Jedi. It's got a 3-piece helmet. You can take the top part off and then remove the face mask, and then there's the old Anakin there. I was excited about that, even though it's been released before. To have that card back, I mean, that's the real thing that I want to see.
Yeah, did that one seemed to look like it was Hayden Christensen? Did the original one look like that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was. Vintage collection Admiral Piet. It's the first character with the new officer body. They said that quote exactly. It's the first new character in the new officer body, which makes me think more officers are coming. I did like this card back. It showed Piet looking over Endor with the Death Star in the background. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, if I was a betting man, I would say that we're going to be getting an army builder of Imperial officers at some point. There's a vintage. What?
Just need to make new head sculpts. That's all they need to do, and then they can have the army.
It's interesting that they're kind of calling out what's new on these characters now, because they said the vintage collection Han Solo from Endor is a new tool from the waist up. This is him in the bunker. It's a nice likeness of Harrison Ford. It looked a lot like him. I think out of all the 3 character, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford seems to be the one that Hasbro nails the most to look more like the character and the actor.
Well, probably because they don't want to piss him off, since he also is the guy for Indiana Jones.
Yeah. But I like that. I like that it was a bunker version. I like the card back. There was also the vintage collection Weequay, which is being re-released. It's a straight re-release, and I think I need this one for the barge. And I'm looking through my card backs. I don't think I got this one on the original release, and he was tracking for like $100. So I'm glad they're releasing that, so I can get that one.
So that means you're going to open them.
I'll open one and keep one in the package.
Gotcha.
One will go on the barge display. One will go into the vintage collection display. And then 20th anniversary will be a year-long celebration for the Clone Wars. So I expect a lot more announcements coming this year for the Clone Wars. There's an ARC Trooper Jesse, which is a Walmart exclusive.
Yay!
March 16th pre-order at Walmart. And this is the only figure from all of this that you can pre-order. The rest of them are not available for pre-order. I think Hasbro's starting to listen and say, you know what, people are frustrated with opening it and then waiting a year because of delays, whatever the case may be, not getting their figure. So we're going to stop with the pre-orders.
Yes. Hey, good on Hasbro.
for listening.
Finally, half-ass listening to people because how many times have we heard in the past where, you get people that get hit for like 5 pre-orders at once?
Yeah.
And then your bank account, I haven't heard, your bank account takes a hit.
Well, instead of hitting 5 pre-orders now, I mean, it's going to drop in the spring. You're going to be ordering 5 figures. And then they're like, what difference does it make if you pre-order those 5 figures and it all hits at once, or you buy them all at once when they're available? I mean, it's the same thing, but.
Right. I guess it's more you don't forget about them and you don't forget that you're going to have $100 hit in your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what matters the more. And it's just frustrating when you do have something like that you pre-order and you forget about it, or you lose interest in it, or, maybe people, I don't know, whatever. It's a step in the right direction for Hasbro, I think.
Yeah. Black Series Ki-Adi-Mundi's coming. But they said it's a 2024 release. So even though they showed the figure, he's not going to come out anytime soon, but he is. I think maybe I might get the Jedi.
Uh-huh.
Any Jedi that comes out, I might get in the Black Series. Any Cantina characters, I might get. But that might be it.
Are you gonna? Go ahead. Sorry. Are you gonna throw them in your Cantina?
Ki-Adi-Mundi, no. Okay. I might get the selfie series with Jerry Hancock and put that on the Ki-Adi-Mundi body, and then I'll have Ki-Adi-Randy in the Cantina.
Yeah, there you go. You should do that for all of us. We should all do a selfie series just to put in your Cantina.
Well, I'll just hang out in one of the.
We can play with. I was going to say play with ourselves, but play with our figures and pretend to drink on your Cantina.
Yeah, that'd be funny. The Vintage Collection, Captain Hauser from the Bad Batch. He was originally released in the Bad Batch 4-pack, but they gave the wrong name on it. And this was like one of the characters that didn't even appear on the show at the time.
Right.
But they're re-releasing it with the correct name pill. The Vintage Collection Phase True Clone Trooper pack based on their Andor appearance. So these are the clone troopers that kind of march by in a flashback in Andor. Mm-hmm. It was a flashback, right?
Yeah, because that was when his dad died.
Yeah. So, yeah. Or his adopted dad. But yeah, anyways.
Everybody knew what I meant, man. Come on.
Sorry. There's a Vintage Collection 2-in-2 Clone Trooper pack that's coming. They're re-releasing VC-100, the Star Killer. I never got that. So I'm appreciative of that because that's another expensive one. They just need to re-release VC-66 at this point, and we'll have to further releases, there's the Retro Collection Mando prototype, which will come in 6 different colors. It'll have a gray cape, the blasters, the classic Kenner blue accessory. It's got the foil background. It's got the pop art card back. It's a Toys R Us exclusive in Canada and a Target exclusive in the United States.
Do you think people are losing their interest in that line, the retro line?
Yes.
Because I'm in Target and I see them sitting on the shelves, and I've never seen them sitting on the shelves in Target.
Same thing with the Black Series Boba Fett.
Yeah.
The Black Series 1 Ned. Is that Ned 1? The droid from Obi-Wan.
Oh, the big yellow droid?
The big yellow one. That one's hanging out. Seems like that one's not flying off the shelf. There's still the last wave of the Black Series with the droid from Mando and Leia in her Ewok costume. There's Lando Calrissian's there, the Cantina band. Like, it just seems like either they've overproduced it or the demand is just drying up. And that could be confirmation bias again, but this is not normal for Black Series.
No. And then I'm also seeing a lot of the it felt like they overproduced one of the Imperials from whatever line it is, because you'll see they have 20 of them sitting on a shelf.
Yeah, it's not like a shore trooper where you can army build that guy, because then you'll just have like clones of the one dude. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, but I mean, even the shore trooper I'm seeing sitting on shelves.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that one to come off of clearance.
Yeah, and I think that's what's screwing things up, is that Target has clearance so much stuff. They're waiting for their inventory to go before they re-release stuff or put more stuff out.
Yes, sir. And then the last reveal was the 40th anniversary Scout Trooper helmet.
That looked great.
Yeah, I was excited about that because that was one of the projects I was thinking about 3D printing, and this looked fabulous. The question is, will it fit on my fat head? Because Boba Fett fits, Darth Vader fits, but the Stormtrooper doesn't on my head.
Those helmets, those Black Series helmets, for what they are, I've heard somebody call them like a 10-foot helmet where it looks good 10 feet away. I mean, you could use it as a cosplay and get away with it. It's not 501st, but those Black Series helmets, they've done that. That's the one thing I think Hasbro's gotten right. Is those Black Series helmets. And when they did the Biker Scout, that just leads me to believe that, okay, they're starting to think outside of the box with those helmets, I think, or getting more to where they're not going to get repaints, or the repaints we're getting are going to be awesome because they didn't they release another clone or something, or they redid the clone helmet or something recently?
Yeah. So we were joking at the time when they announced that we're going to get repacks and repaints of that guy.
Well, the only repaint of that one I want's the Ahsoka Trooper. And
I'm sure that's coming.
Yeah, that one's gonna fly off the shelf. That's my favorite clone. That is a badass. It's a badass moment in Clone Wars, and it's a badass looking helmet.
If you buy the Scout Trooper, I'll custom paint that for you for the Rebels version.
I may have to buy that then.
Yeah, I'll have to figure out how to do it, but that's a nice challenge.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if they would. No, would they repaint that? Would there be enough people that would want that?
Depends if it makes an appearance in Rebels. I don't see them going back to redo it.
Yeah.
Or to make it because it was so long ago.
Right.
If it was new media and they had this mold, I'd say, yeah, of course, sure, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. I see a Sabine repaint before I see that happening.
Yeah. Pipeline reveals retro collection Book of Boba Fett in the Tusken outfit. Tusken Raider. Tusken Raider itself is coming. Fennec Shan, Black K, Cad Bane, Jedi Luke, Grogu, it says Grogu and backpack, but does that mean Luke in a backpack? I don't know.
It would probably be the training backpack for Luke, so you can buy 2 figures.
Yeah, maybe I wrote this down and I don't remember what I was thinking. And then finally, the Mandalorian from Book of Boba Fett. I don't know what's different about that, but he'll be there. The vintage collection, Luke from Book of Boba Fett and training gear, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader 2-pack, which I'm excited about because I believe that's the battle. So to have Darth Vader with his helmet cut open, that's going to look pretty hot.
And that's a retro or the TVC?
TVC.
Okay.
Mando.
Oh,
speeder bike coming out for Return of the Jedi.
Hold on. Repeat yourself. I lost you. Mando and the speeder bike. That's all I got.
Mando and the speeder bike's being re-released.
Okay.
Or it's being released. I would imagine this is the re-release of the Return of the Jedi version. They're just going to dirty it up and throw a dirty Scout Trooper on it for Mandalorian.
Right. Are they going to put Baby Yoda in a backpack?
I don't know. They didn't announce that.
You think they would?
Would.
Or what? Actually, what they're going to do is just give you the backpack or put Baby Yoda in the backpack on a separate card, so you have to buy 2 figures.
Yeah. N1 Starfighter vintage collection, so they're making that, which I'll get to in a second. I was going to track the HasLab because something's coming this year, so I would have put that high on my list. Black Series Luke and Grogu Build-A-Pack, Gaming Greats Darth Malgus and Ahsoka Loyalist helmet. They announced that.
Oh, did they announce that?
Yeah.
I thought I remember. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So that's what's coming. Yeah.
Time to save up and buy some freaking Black Series helmets.
But yeah, I wanted to run through possible HasLab projects after 2 failed Black Series projects. I assume that the next one's going to be vintage collection because they've had a good track record with that.
Yeah.
And number 1 on that list was the N1 Starfighter. But I pegged that at $250, so that's not going to be a HasLab because they would have announced it as a HasLab.
Right. I think a $250 would be about right on that one because it feels like with the with the Slave 1, they released that at 130, and then they re-released it at like 150, 200.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the N1 would be the 2 to 250 range.
Yeah.
And people will pay it. I don't know. I think that ship it needs to grow on us a little bit better. I'm going to talk Mando for a minute. I don't like that ship as a bounty hunter ship. I don't like that ship as it doesn't fit the story. It fits the story and it's awesome, but it doesn't fit where we think, man, it's not a big enough ship to be a home. It's something you use to jump, it's like an X-Wing. There's no room in there to live. So what are they going to do with Mando next year with that ship? So that's why I don't like that ship.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bounty hunter anymore. I think he's got another purpose, is to reunite the Mandalorians and get them together.
Okay.
And build an army. I think that's going to be his cause, not, just gun for hire, working for money. I think he's got a higher calling now.
Okay. I'm down for that. I give me some good Mandalorian lore, which I think that's whatever. I'm sorry. I think it's probably what they've been building up for, and it's what I've been waiting for, is give me some good Mandalorian lore.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
3 weeks. 3 weeks from when this drops.
That close. Wow.
Other possible HasLabs that I thought, the Marauder from the Bad Batch, that giant ship with some of those figures, I pegged at maybe 300, 350.
Mm-hmm.
Because with HasLab, if you think it's 200, throw another 150 on it.
Right.
The Death Star playset, which I've heard rumors about, I threw that as $1,000 because you can't half-ass that.
No. Look at Jason Curson.
Oh, sorry. Cantina playset, I put that as $500. I thought that would be as big as the barge. And then because it's you, and because Ahsoka's coming out this year, I threw in the Ghost, only because of Ahsoka. But do you think that would come with the Phantom?
It would have to come with the Phantom, and it would be a very expensive. I think it'd be a $500 piece if it came with the Phantom.
Yeah.
And
would the Phantom be a tier?
I could see them doing that with that ship and making it like the first or second tier. Or I don't know, how do they normally? Because I haven't really paid attention on those. Is that something that they release?
Pay close attention if it was the Ghost.
Oh, I would. I would be. It would be like, when do I buy it? And babe, I'm doing this. There would be no questions. It would be as soon as that thing got announced, I'd back it, just because it's the Ghost. So when they do the tiers, would the Phantom be a tier at the front or at the back? Do they announce the bigger tiers to the front of the line, or you know what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
Normally, like the tiers are like, here's a figure, or here's a environmental piece. For the Razor Crest, it was the escape pod. That was the first tier, or was it the second tier? I can't remember. And then there was the carbonite block. So having a whole nother ship as a tier, I just don't see that happening. I think the Phantom has to be part of the Ghost. It has to be part of the offering. But the question is, will it be Phantom 2? Will it be the Phantom 1? Or will it be Phantom 3? Maybe there's a new Phantom for Ahsoka.
If they did that, that would piss me off. If there was I would want the OG Phantom 1.
What you want might not be what you get.
Right. You know what? I would still be happy. I would still buy it if they did a new Phantom for the Ahsoka show. But I didn't even think about that they could have a new Phantom for the Ahsoka show. And then do it with the ship, which would make sense because that's what they like doing. It's whatever's front of mind is what we're going to put out in a toy or collectible or whatever.
I worry that the figures that we would get, a majority of them are usually repacks or repaints. So you'd probably get like an Ahsoka with like a cloth cape so she could sit down in the cockpit. You would probably get a Hera, but then Hera would probably be re-released later down the line because she's an essential piece of this. We'd probably have to get a chopper. But I just don't see them doing that because it's usually re-releases. They don't want to invest more money into this thing. They would, but this is all hypothetical. So anyways,
truthfully, okay, yes, they don't want to do repacks. They would rather do repacks and re-releases, but I think that show is gonna bring a whole new level to the to Hera, to Chopper, to Sabine. People are going to go ape shit over of Sabine and Hera and Chopper. And then you're going to have to go, do you go, okay. And then they're going to have Jason Sandula. That's going to be amazing. And then are you going to bring back Zeb? Are you going to bring back Kanan? Are you going to they're going to have to do Ezra because Ezra's going to be in the show. You're going to bring back Thrawn. You know, there's so many possibilities to that ship, but I could totally see him doing. This is what's front of mind is the Ahsoka show. So this is going to be the Ghost from the Ahsoka show, which is going to be, you're not going to get a Kanan. You're not going to get Zeb. You're going to get whoever shows up in the Ahsoka show is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But then again, I can also see them re-releasing stuff later, you know, coming, because I know a lot of people want the Ghost crew on TVC and they never done it. So maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know, dude. You're laughing because I love talking Rebels, and you're just like,
I opened up Pandora's box.
You opened.
I'm going to check out for another 30 minutes. You keep going down on your rant. If you decide to edit,
dude, I was really disappointed with you yesterday because they had the alien ship that's like this square triangle thing, and I'm like, dude, what does this ship remind you of? And you're like,
I need to catch up. Like, I'm looking at this thing, and it's from Alien. It's not the Ghost, but. Which was incredible that he had that, because I don't think people realize those alien action fleets are incredibly rare.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on.
Anyway, so yeah, I was just, and you were just like, oh, it's the freaking Ghost. I'm like, yeah, it's the freaking Ghost.
How long have we been recording?
I think we're right at, we're a little over an hour.
Oh, geez, I got so much more news. Let me fly through this so then you can tell your.
Yeah, dude, fly,
Chewbacca.
Jason, fly. We're good, man. Let's go.
Fly, you fools. Black Series is officially turning 10 years old this month.
Wow.
So it's been a decade of the Black Series. Skeleton Crew has finished has wrapped filming. There's rumors out there about who Jude Law is playing.
Okay, what's the rumors?
It's a character we've seen in the sequel trilogy. I'll just leave it at that because I don't want it to be too spoilery. Because it could be all wrong.
Right.
But there might be a connection to that. Savvy's workshop at Disney. Custom lightsaber experience has been reduced from $249 to $219.
Yep.
While the Droid Depot, the Build-A-Droid experience has been reduced from $119 to $99.
I'm glad to see they did that. Yeah. I think Disney's kind of making a step in the right direction in a lot of ways, and that's just one more thing.
Yep. Sam Witwer played the shore trooper in Andor that arrests Andor. And that results him going to the prison, which kind of results him finding purpose to destroy the Death Star. You know, like it's all the dominoes that go in. So it is a shore trooper's fault. One shore trooper who started the dominoes that fell that got the Death Star blown up. So Sam Witwer tweeted, "It's canon." So he even signs on to the fact that his shore trooper is the domino that started the whole sequence.
Yeah.
So it's a shore trooper's fault.
You and those damn shore troopers.
Yakface, yeah, you and the damn rebels. Speaking of which, Yakface posted a rumor that retro Ahsoka Wave is going to be released later this year. So I would assume that would mean a retro Sabine for the gentleman.
I already warned my wife when we were in Celebration. I'm texting her going, next year is going to suck for you for our wallet. Because rebels. And yeah. Next year, this year, the end of this year, or early next year, my wallet's gonna cry.
Speaking of crying, about 1,000 people are gonna lose their position at Hasbro because Hasbro's cutting back.
Yeah.
They're downsizing, and I'm not a financial analyst by any means. I'm not some guy who knows the economy really well, but from what I'm hearing, you know, the economy is going to turn around sometime in the second half of this year or maybe 2024. It just depends on who you talk to. And it's sad to see something like this happen because what they're doing is cutting jobs to make the stock prices look better.
Yeah.
And so people are losing their jobs to make sure the CEO looks good.
Yes.
It's a short-term pain for a short-term gain, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's not good. Shares fell when they announced this, 7%. There's a lot of facts and figures here that I'm just kind of going through, and I don't need to go through it all, but it did say Hasbro's estimated fourth quarter revenue of about 1.68 billion was down 17% from the previous year. That's the fourth quarter. They expected 1.92 billion in revenue, and so they just didn't perform that well.
Maybe if they quit repacking stuff, but
well,
I don't want to talk. Go ahead.
It's interesting that you bring that up because it's not the thing that's going on with Hasbro. They have a CEO who wants to be super aggressive and have like incredible profits by 2025, which is part of the reason why we've seen the jump of prices in action figures, which again, short-term gain for long-term pain because collectors are getting tired. You're seeing these Black Series Boba Fett's. Boba Fett doesn't normally hang on there unless they overproduce it or people are just tired of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can refer you to a little company called Disney.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you go see what happened at Disney when they tried doing all that crap and see what happened to the CEO? He got replaced really freaking fast, and they're trying to backpedal to get all their fans back.
But it's interesting because Wizards of the Coast is a company that Hasbro owns.
Mm-hmm.
Wizards owns the Dungeons and Dragon line. They manage the Magic the Gathering line. It makes up about 70% of Hasbro's value.
Wow.
So you've got this one subsidiary that's worth 70% of Hasbro. There was some sort of activist shareholder trying to get on their board, similarly to what's happening right now with Disney. There's somebody who's buying up stock and saying, I deserve a seat. Because what they want to do, allegedly, is spin off Wizards of the Coast into its own company. Because it's the one that's most profitable. You've got Hasbro dragging Wizards of the Coast down, and they want to split the companies up. Wizards of the Coast would have its own shareholders. It's one of the more profitable areas of the company. Hasbro needs the Dungeons and Dragons movie, allegedly, to do really, really well to say, hey, look, we can manage Dungeons and Dragons. We know what we're doing.
Right.
Which I don't know if it's going to have billions of dollars like an Avatar or Star Wars. It's maybe a $20 million movie. I don't know.
I'm interesting because I think that movie's kind of hitting at the right time, though. When's it being released?
It's like March. It's like next month.
Okay. Maybe it'll do good because I think because you've got Stranger Things that ended 6 months ago, and there was a big Dungeons and Dragons arc in there. So maybe people have picked up the Dungeons and Dragons, thing. Huh?
Yeah, it gets even worse.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. Because Dungeons and Dragons has been around since the 70s, and it's gone through revisions, but the rules is open source, meaning if you want a third party to make up a game that's like a part of Dungeons and Dragons, you can buy that game, you can assimilate it into your game. The rules are the same. Third party companies can make whatever they want. They don't own anything back to Wizards of the Coast. It's just open source. And recently Hasbro came out and said, no, we're going to charge you 25% royalty. What they're doing is they've revised it. So maybe it's like Dungeons and Dragons 5.0. We've been at 4.5 and they've decided we're going to change the rules to 5.0 going forward. And the rules in 5.0, and that's not proper terminology again. Right. I'm just making this up for description purposes. So 5.0, you're going to owe us 25% royalties on anything you make. And everybody was just like, for decades, this has been open source. Why the hell? And this was like an internal email that leaked. And so Hasbro had to back off and walk away with their tail tucked between their legs because for decades, it's been open source. And now Hasbro's coming along and saying, we want money.
Right.
And
that's not cool.
No, and it's just their greed. It's the pressure from the community that's really forced Hasbro to rethink their greed. But that just shows Hasbro needs this company to stay within their portfolio because it's an important company and it's 70% of their value.
Right.
They're
So
just
they're
being greedy.
they're making money on like because Dungeons and Dragons is like a book-based action role play game. So they're making money on the books because they own the company, correct? They're not just making money on the toys.
Right. But if you wanted to start your own Dungeons and Dragons game and publish it, you can do that without owing anything to Wizards of the Coast.
Gotcha.
But what Hasbro was saying, no, if you're going to do that now, you owe us 25%.
That's like freaking like it's the same thing as like Minecraft or Doom, the Doom video game. People, that's what that game is for, because I know people when Doom was a big deal, people would make their own video games, versions of it, and that was just what they did with that game. So yeah, that would ruin, I think that would really ruin that game if Hasbro did that.
Yeah. I think Hasbro needs new leadership. I think he's just being too aggressive, and he's got a sight on money. He doesn't have a sight on providing quality to the consumer. It's just how much money can I get from the consumer?
Yeah. And everybody that I've known that's tried that kind of stuff, when you forget about when you're like, I'm chasing the bottom line, and you forget about your consumer, you forget about your people, you end up losing your job and you don't get the job done. So I don't know why people haven't learned, from the mistakes of the past, and like, hey, you need to change the way you're thinking, and worry about improving your product, and then everything else will come along.
Interestingly, the president and chief operating officer for Hasbro was one of the people who lost his position in the 1,000 people that were laid off.
Oh,
I don't know if he was the fall guy or what's going on there. Maybe he didn't like the new CEO and his direction. Who knows? I'm just talking out my butt there and speculating, but there's a lot going on there, and it's not good for the consumer as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Interesting.
Also want to say thank you to Casey Wheeler for the support on YouTube. We appreciate you watching.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, man. The YouTube, are we doing pretty good on YouTube?
Yeah, we get about 40 per week.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Anywhere between 30 to 40, yeah.
Because I personally, I don't like watching podcasts on YouTube. But because there is a podcast that I really wanted to get into that it's only on YouTube, and I guess I'm just old. It's hard for me to contemplate like watching a podcast.
Yeah, you're stuck in your ways.
I am. I guess you could do it while you're driving, because I listen to stuff while I'm driving. I can't really listen to it at work.
Yeah. Let's see. Last episode we had 31 views. The one before was 64. The one before that was 38. So it's all over the map. But I know people like to do things and work, and then have podcasts in the background. And if you have something on the TV, just turn on the TV and work. And so that's just another outlet for people to hear us.
Right. And they get to see our beautiful faces.
Cheese. So how was Chewbacca Fest?
Dude, New Orleans, it was great. We got down there on Friday and kind of we got our pattern, because we'll go down there and there is a bar called Dat Dog, which is where Chewbacca is sort of based out of.
Yeah. So
if you can get upstairs over there, it is they've got like the Chewbacca. They've got a very nerdy space theme, and they've got what they call it's a Chewbacca with the 6 arms or whatever in the wall, and it's a cool bar. It's a good people watching spot because it's upstairs and you look down on Frenchman Street. So we did that Friday. We just kind of. I always regret when you kind of, you look back on a trip and I'm like, man, I wish I'd relaxed more. And then if you relax more, you're like, man, I wish I'd have done more crap. So we had, what else? We did that Friday. Saturday, we get ready to go out, and we were kind of running a little behind because Mandy was trying to take her time, and she's trying to we're trying to gauge each other better with trips, because I'm a go guy, and I want to sit down and relax and drink a beer or read a book. So it was getting about 11 o'clock, and I've ordered an Uber, and I'm like, let's go get some lunch. I wanted to buy another hat.
Another stupid hat.
So I'm like, I want to go to the hat shop. We wanted to go eat at this place called Mother's, which is just good Southern food. And I want to walk around the quarter and want to walk back from there. So we decided we were going to get an Uber, go to the furthest point and walk back. Well, right as we're stepping out of the bed and breakfast, this homeless lady walks by having a psychotic episode and looks at my wife and says, "I heard what you effing said about me," and throws a can of Coke at her. So thankfully it was only Coke, and thankfully she was out of her freaking mind, and we're both in our 40s, because my wife said 20 years ago I would have kicked her ass. So thankfully the calmer heads prevailed, and we knew what was going on, and Mandy went and cleaned up and had to take a few minutes, and the Uber showed up and I waved him off, and thankfully cooler heads prevailed, because it could have gone a lot worse than what it was. The owner of the bed and breakfast was, apologetic, and it's like, you can't control homeless people.
Yeah.
So, after that happened, we went and got me some hats. And so, we had after that, the day turned around fairly good. We were able to go do Chewbacca's that evening. The bed and breakfast we stay at, it's called Elysian Fields. If you guys, are going to go to New Orleans, it's on the back end of the top end of the French Quarter. So it's the north end of the French Quarter. It's right near Frenchman Street. It's a really cool Frenchman Street's like the local place where people go to hang out. You still get that feel of Bourbon Street, but it doesn't smell as bad. It
smell like piss and barf.
Exactly. So you get the locals are hang out on Frenchman Street versus Bourbon Street. I don't even think we walked Bourbon Street. If we did walk Bourbon Street, it was the back end of Bourbon Street. So where was I at? So anyway, Elysian Fields. So the Elysian Fields is right on the Chewbacca's line. So I went and bought shots to hand out so I can trade for throws, because this parade is not really a typical parade where they throw beads. People are throwing handmade items because they everything's handmade for this parade. It's a really awesome sci-fi themed parade. It's a walking parade. So, it's a lot slower paced than a truck or tractor parade. And so they've got people, they had, the first half of it's all Star Wars or like Star Wars based. They have a big pink Chewbacca walking around. That's sort of their mascot, is the pink Chewie. And so I've learned with this parade, as you notice what kind of troop they are, notice what kind of crew they are, sub crew, you start yelling. And especially if you know the characters, you yell the name of the characters and you'll get one of the throws. They had, like trimmers were there, and I'm like, "Hey, do you guys fart fire?" And they heard me and they were excited about that. So, like they had a big trimmer and he came and he came and ate me, and they'll do cool stuff like that. At one point I yelled, "Hey, Leia," and 3 people turned around. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest, the funniest. So like they had, I'll get to that in a second, but they had like a Rocky Horror. They had a troupe of people from Rocky Horror that they'll do the act out the movie as they're playing it. So I yelled, "Damn it, Janet." And one of them like stopped in their tracks and handed me a t-shirt. So I was like, sweet. And they just like handed me a bunch of stuff because I'm like yelling movie quotes to them. And the funniest part is they had a Dune sub crew. So I'm yelling at them. I'm like, "Hey, do you guys have any spice?" And they hand me a packet of spice with their sub crew.
Nice.
like a legitimate Tony Chachere's packet of spice, like little mini packet, like single serve. And I'm just like, this is awesome.
That's cool.
And then I yelled at one of the Star Wars. I'm like, "I don't like sand." And she handed me a bag full of sand with like the sand and the no thing. And then it got everywhere because she put it in like a mesh bag. So the sand was getting everywhere. And I'm like,
that's funny.
Yeah. I'm like, doggone it. But it was a good time. It lasts for about 3 hours. The parade does.
And it's at night.
So it's just the light, the costumes are awesome. They had like a R2 bar 2, which is an R2D2 that they put like a bar inside. So with like spigots so people can get drinks out of it. I get like the crew that they don't like normal people get in there. And they had like, oh geez, it was just like, what else? They had a sand crawler, like a big, not huge sand crawler like they have in Atlanta, but a pretty decent sized sand crawler. Uh, they call them the crew of goggles. And what else? They had a bunch of ETs, so like ET phone home. They were throwing out Reese's peanut butter cups or Reese's
Nice.
pieces. Uh, so they do a really good job of theming everything together. And it's just if you're a fun, nerdy person, which obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you are, it's a good way to get a taste of New Orleans and Mardi Gras and sci-fi, get your sci-fi fix without being in the middle of Mardi Gras, because it's on the front end of Mardi Gras. And you get to take, the city is just starting to rev up to Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
So you get it without being in the thick of it. Because I showed Mandy like a picture of Bourbon Street on Mardi Gras Day, and she's like, F that, because it is shoulder to shoulder people. Your butts to nuts on Mardi Gras Day.
Yeah. COVID everywhere.
Yeah. Which we didn't get sick, but it was a fun time. It's an interesting part of town because there's two gay bars on the side streets, so you do run into you get some interesting people.
Yeah.
But it's a fun. We felt safe. I mean, I know New Orleans is like, people are like, oh, there's car break-ins and stuff. Thankfully, the B&B we stay at, they have a garage that, if you book long enough, they'll let you stay in the garage. So thankfully the car wasn't broke into. The only thing we ran into was that one crazy lady throwing a Coke at my wife.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, she was.
That's not cool.
No, it was not cool. She was not happy. I thought that it was going to ruin our day.
Yeah, it would have ruined mine.
Yeah, she was.
Hell,
not
I didn't
happy.
get an eBay auction and ruin my day.
Yeah, she thankfully was able, because she was just like, you're rushing me. And I'm like, no, it's 11 o'clock. I got stuff we got to do. We got to get back, because the parade was on Saturday. So I'm like, the parade, we got to be back by like 6:30 for the parade. So I don't want to waste my day. I don't want my day to be wasted, because there's stuff I want to do. So, that could have gone south real fast. We found a comic book shop, but I can't remember what it's called because it's comics and I don't do comics. I say that but I do what I wanted. I don't, and I'm looking at the lady and I'm just like, I don't do comics. And she's like, we got Pops. I'm like, I don't do Pops either.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
Go back to the comics. I'll do those.
Yeah. I got to go down to my hometown and see my grandma and see my family on Saturday. And it's just sad to see that place is 2 years after that hurricane. It's still just,
Still hasn't recovered.
Yeah. There's a whole shopping center that they've demolished, that they put a few trailers in for people to live in. And I could, my cousin, it's been 2 years and they're still living in a camper because they're trying to get their insurance and stuff together.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It sucks to see. And then I love New Orleans, but Atlanta's been my home and it's just, yeah. But I don't want to live it on a sour note, but it was a good trip. Chewbacca's, like I said, man, if you're even the half-ass thinking about going, you need to go. It's a fun parade.
Did you book the bed and breakfast for next year?
They have not announced Chewbacca's yet. They kind of can guess at it, but yeah, she knows that once they announce it, we want the same room, and we'll be back down next year.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then we've learned also that, we need to be a little bit louder. We need to be, we need to have like a sign, because last year we had a sign, shots for throws, and they'll give out little blocks, like they do bandoliers, and you put a Velcro strip on the bandolier. So they'll hand you a block with a Velcro strip on it that you put on your bandolier. And that'll also, people, when they see that you have a bandolier and you have blocks on it, they'll give you their blocks because you understand the tradition. Mm-hmm. And last year, Mandy had like a half-ass bandolier because she had dressed up as the Chewbacca's thing, and she had a Chewie bandolier that she had taken a backpack or a satchel and put a Chewbacca thing on it. So people saw that and they're like, oh, you've got a bandolier. So they were handing her more stuff. So we didn't do that this year. It was literally while we're packing up, we were looking at the stuff. Mandy's looking at the stuff going, oh, this is my Chewbacca stuff, and put it in a box. So it's somewhere in my garage and we have no clue where it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're gonna go, make sure you got to participate in the parade, because if you just stand there, you're not going to get anything. And if you can make yourself like a bandolier type thing, people will appreciate that. If you could trade shots for throws, people appreciate that. It's like anything you can do to participate in the parade. Don't be afraid, because you're not going to get anything if you don't get in there. Just don't run a little kid over, because people will kick your butt.
Yeah, and don't throw beers at people.
Right, exactly. Don't throw beers at people, because they don't like that either.
No one would.
No one would.
Cokes or whatever it was.
Right.
I'm sorry to hear that. But anyways, it sounded like you had fun besides that.
Yeah, it was a great trip. It's
Awesome.
like, I love New Orleans.
Of course.
It's in my blood.
Of course. Same thing with Buc-ee's.
Yes.
It's in your blood in Texaco.
Oh, we did. We were driving through Auburn, Alabama, and we start seeing signs, Buc-ee's, 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 Buc-ee's. They're building a Buc-ee's in Auburn. So we're like, sweet, we got a place to stop now. It's right off.
Cool.
Yeah, in Auburn. So
You take
like,
10?
Yeah.
Interstate 10? There's not
10.
Buc-ee's on 10?
No.
Oh.
It's going in, I think, well, we know the one on Robbins. There's one, I think, somewhere in Alabama, but it's on the other side of Alabama, because it's like the Florida side of Alabama.
I see.
Because we kind of, you take 65 through to 10. So you kind of cut that corner of Alabama off, which is a good thing, because you're in Alabama way too long. You hear banjos sometimes.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
And hey, everybody, we're here with Sam Sams from West Virginia. He went to this really cool auction of a bunch of stuff that was found basically in the back of a warehouse last week. And we just wanted to sit down with him for a few minutes and see how things went. How was his thoughts? What did he get? What were prices? Was it too insane? Just sit down, get his thoughts, and see what he thinks. Sam, first of all, what was the auction? What was the auction house, and how did the stuff come about?
Yeah, so it's like you described. I think it was in October, November last year. A guy named Dan Morphy posted on all the Facebook groups, social media groups, and all the Star Wars collector groups that he had acquired this warehouse find or barn find, depending on what you want to call it, of I don't know, 300, 400 mint on cards, vintage Star Wars action figures, and posted some pictures of them, and basically caught the whole vintage Star Wars collecting community by storm. I mean, it was crazy. It turned out there were 5 double telescoping Luke mint on cards.
Oh my God!
In
Holy
this
crap.
5. There were, I didn't count, but 7 or 8, like 21 back or 20 back Boba Fett's mint on card, all kinds of 12 back Leia's and Chewbacca's and 3PO's and a couple of Vaders, but it was all early, Empire cards. There were a few Jedi and Power of the Force cards, but mostly Star Wars carded action figures. And the condition looked like it, you were walking into Kmart or wherever you bought your toys when you were little, and they were still on the shelf. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, I know those Fets, people were scared it was going to crash the market, but it didn't seem to affect it any.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Boba Fett collector, so I'm not sure what those normally would go for, but they all went for like $14,000 a piece. So I don't know whether that was high or low, but that's what those all went for, and it was pretty consistent amongst all of them. So
I think that's
yes,
about the market price on those.
Yeah. So the story goes that a guy that was not a Star Wars collector, but was in the collecting world. I don't know what he collected. I'm sure I read it somewhere, but back in the late 70s, early 80s, decided to buy all these. He had some kids and thought that it's something that they might want. And they didn't end up wanting them. So they just kind of stuck them in the closet. And the cool thing about it too, was they were all stored in original Kenner shipper boxes.
Wow.
So those shipper boxes are also very, very collectible. So that was something they auctioned off too. And if memory serves me right, several of them went, they weren't thousands of dollars, but they were hundreds of dollars a piece, just for, cardboard box that said Kenner Star Wars on the side. But
wow.
But yeah, it was nuts. But the auction house was very professional. They were great, very friendly. There was probably between 30 and 40 people there for the live, there in person. So the way they did it was similar to Hake's auctions. If you're familiar with Hake's, they do Star Wars auctions, I don't know, quarterly, I'd say, but similar to where they post pictures online. You go to the website and you register and you can bid online. But the difference with this auction is 15 minutes before the live auction started, which was this past Wednesday, February 1st at 9 a.m., they cut off the pre-bidding online. And so then they you could still participate online, but you had to go to like a different platform to bid. And then you had the live bidders there. And then this was like a real professional auction house. Like, I'd never been to one, but kind of like you'd see on TV, where they've got people in the back on the phones with big,
oh wow,
big money collectors. And so you could arrange a phone bid, or you could bid online, or you could be there in person. So it was crazy. And there was over 400 lots. And I went the day before and looked at all the items, and they told me then, they're like, yeah. I was like, how long do you think this is going to take? Because I mean, that's, I envisioned being there, for the better part of 12 hours or so as they auctioned all this stuff off. But they said, oh no, it'll be, we plan on doing 80 items an hour. So that's less than a minute per auction. And they pretty much were on that. So it went very, very quickly. So if you were interested in any of the items and you didn't kind of do your homework and write down which lot numbers you wanted and kind of what your max bid was going to be or anything like that, then you were in trouble, because it's not like they held up the item before the auction and said, oh, here it is, we're bidding on this. It was just they posted the picture that they had already posted previously and said, okay, lot number 123, it's 12 back Princess Leia, here we go.
Wow.
So it was really, really fun and cool to see. Now the prices, for anyone that thinks that it's a down market, at least on the top level, the high end, it is not.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I was really after was a 12 back Vader. I have one, but it's not in really good condition. So I thought, hey, if I can upgrade mine and sell my old one to help pay for it, and that was kind of my plan. And I've been watching them for about the last month, and thought I had a shot, because I think there were 5 in the auction. So I thought, well, surely I can get in on one of the 5. They were all 5 of them were better than one I had. And when I went to bed Tuesday night, it was getting close to what my max bid was going to be. But I was still in the hunt for them. I woke up Wednesday morning and checked out what the prices were online, and everything spiked overnight. So,
wow.
Yeah,
when
it was nuts.
So they cut the auction off. I guess you the pre-auction off. Did they start, like, let's say they started those, got to like $10,000, just pull a number out of hat. So they said, all right, this bid's at $10,000. We'll start there. Wow.
Right. Exactly. Yep. So whatever the last bid online was, that was the starting bid for the live auction. Yeah.
So, I guess there was some speculation about, was it a real, true, quote unquote barn find?
Right.
did you get the feeling that it was a true, like, it wasn't like set up where you see on reality TV where somebody's like, oh, I just so happen to have all these Star Wars figures in the back, where somebody literally like went in the back of a warehouse and went, oh crap.
Yeah, I think it was legit. I mean, I don't think it was one of these finds where, that you see online sometimes where, some grandma had stuff that she forgot in the attic that she had bought her grandson for Christmas in 1970. Wasn't anything like that. Like I said, the guy was a collector of, I don't know, coins maybe, or, something in the collecting world. So I think they knew that it had some value, but I don't think they anticipated kind of what a sensation and a kind of collecting storm, that this find would have. Because I'm not sure how many DT carded Lukes were known to exist, but adding 5 to the pile at one time just kind of blew everybody's mind. So
yeah, like I was saying earlier, it was the same thing with the Fets. Everybody was like, oh man, you're going to put 8 21 back Fets back into the collector, realm, into the hobby that could crash the market. But like you were saying, with them going for what they were going for, it didn't seem like it did. Did you see, I noticed there were, I saw a few of our guys that, guys that we follow in the hobby, friends with, were up there. Was it sort of like a mini celebration type atmosphere?
Yeah, it was. It was like going to a show and seeing people that for sure. Yeah. And I went to dinner with friends. I was there Tuesday night and Wednesday night. And both nights I went to dinner with different group of friends and hung out and just kind of talked about everything. Collector Archive Services was there taking submissions, so you could if you won one of the items, you could submit it right to them for grading. So I talked to those guys quite a bit, so I enjoyed that. And it was real friendly atmosphere. Like I said, the auction house treated us great, and I don't think they auction off toys and stuff, but it's mostly like high end antiques and guns and like they had a bunch of marbles in there and sports cards. And I think they'd had some Star Wars stuff in the past, but nothing like this. And they really were appreciative of all the information that, Star Wars collectors, we're not shy about telling you what we think.
Not at all.
No.
So, and there were, when I was there the day before looking at stuff, there was a couple people, giving their opinion on things and not in a negative way, but just, and they were, I heard a couple of the employees talk about how grateful they were to get all the information. So it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of get into the Star Wars auctioning, a little bit heavier, because they definitely made some money this week.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I know there was a lot of talk when they first came out, that they were gonna, we're gonna auction off all the Boba Fett's and all the Yodas, so they were gonna keep everything as a lot.
Yeah.
So you would end up bidding on 8 Boba Fett's, or you'd end up bidding on however many Yodas they had. So it feels like they listened to the community and were like, dude, you're gonna get a lot more money if you separate the lots.
Yeah, they did, and to their credit. And then they also, I know there was a collector I saw on some YouTube videos that had reached out. I'm sure several collectors did, but for whatever reason, they decided to kind of take the advice of this one collector, and he hooked them up with Ian Sanderson and put them all in acrylic cases, and said, this will really help. I think he helped them kind of. There were still some lots of multiple. They weren't all individual lots. There were some lots of, say, I think they did like a bounty hunter lot of 4 or 5 of the bounty hunters, all of them without fat, in like clear bubble, perfect looking Empire Strikes Back cards. So they did do some lots, but I think they like I said, they listened to the community and welcomed the advice, and I think it paid off for them, because had they put, like you said, 7 or 8 Boba Fett's in one lot, I mean, I can't imagine there being but a handful of people that would have that kind of money to, because that you're talking 6 figures, for a lot like that. So this way, hopefully, they spread out a little bit, amongst the community. But there's a lot of talk right now about, who bought them all, and are we going to end up seeing them for sale here, in the not too distant future, or what, or will they just kind of disappear into, some high end investor collector type of person? Are they just going to end up in their safe and maybe show up 10 years from now? Who knows?
Right.
It'll be curious. Go ahead.
So you don't know who bid on all. You don't know who won them all. It was blind bidding.
I mean, you could, they announced like when you logged in or signed up in person, you got a bidder number. It's not, the auction house associated that number with your name, but no one else knew, what number you were or anything. And I did hear some people say that, that there were like 4 different numbers that bought up all the Boba Fett's and things like that. But who knows? And if they did, good for them. But you could kind of go back and rewatch it, and they did, say, okay, winning bid $10,000 to bidder 1, 2, 3, 4, and so you could kind of track which bid numbers got which figures, but you don't know who they are per se. There, as far as in person, like I said, there was 30 or 40 of us, and there wasn't a ton of live bids. There were a handful here and there. Especially towards the end when some of the lower end stuff came up. But there were a couple of gentlemen there that bought a bunch of stuff that I kind of wanted to go talk to and then just never did. I didn't know whether that would be rude or not, but they weren't anybody that, to my knowledge, any of the, collectors in our circles would recognize. I didn't know who they were. So
that's interesting. So it's people like outside the collecting community
on
this?
Yeah, Jason, that's kind of the one big conclusion that I walked away with was, we get caught up in our Facebook groups and our all of our groups, and there's in a lot of the Facebook groups it's a lot of the same people, right? So it seems to me like maybe there's 400 or 500 real active community vintage Star Wars collectors. And a lot of the names everybody is familiar with, but with this auction, it showed me it was either Star Wars collectors that we just don't that don't participate in those groups, or it was big money investors that were looking to diversify, and saw this as which it really was. It was kind of a once in a generation type of opportunity to buy some of this stuff.
Yeah. Was it your impression that the person that was, for lack of a better term right now, outside the collecting community, were they a representative, or do you think that was their item?
I think it was I mean, I've told a couple people it was 2 older gentlemen, like had to be in their mid 70s. Wow. And I said it was your stereotypical. It looked to me like they were like model train collectors, and then that generation, and but like I said, they were buying some stuff, but
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know whether I didn't get the impression that they were, bidding for somebody else or anything. That's why I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to see, whether this was, their first thing, or maybe they've got this huge Star Wars collection somewhere that no one knows about.
Black holes.
Yeah.
What were the surprises? Meaning, like, oh, I didn't expect that item to go that high, or oh, I didn't expect that item to sell that cheap. That's a deal.
There wasn't any cheap deals. That's for sure. There wasn't.
Yeah, I know. But cheap
hoping.
Is relative. Like, oh, that's it, 5,000.
Sure. Yeah, sure. You're right. Exactly. To my knowledge, there were a couple of surprises. One, and all the 12 backs are great, but the as you rank the 12 backs, usually Chewbacca's and 3POs go. I don't want to say cheap, but they're a lot less expensive than the Luke Skywalkers and Princess Leia's and Han Solos, right?
Yeah.
But it seemed like all of them were, market rate plus $1,000, then plus the 20% buyer's premium plus 6 or 7% sales tax, depending on what state you were buying from, if you were online. So I mean, you're talking. Call it $1,000 above market plus another 30% is where they all were. And even early on, I could be wrong. I didn't write it down, but I think one of the 12-back Chewbacca's went for between $3,000 and $4,000. And that's just unheard of. And we were all kind of sitting there looking at each other like, is this Chewbacca we're talking about? But yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, these were in very, very good condition. I mean, in fact, there were a lot of people who felt like they would have made even more money had they taken an extra couple of months and got them all graded and then put them up. But there were plenty of 80 pluses and 85s to be had in that auction. And then another surprise, and I'm really, really curious about if there's a story behind it. There were 5 double telescoping Lukes, and I looked at all of them, and I think the first 2 went for $25,000 a piece. And then the third one went for a couple thousand less than that. But all of a sudden on the fourth, and they spread them out. So, it wasn't like, okay, we're going to do all the Lukes. So they kind of spread them out throughout the day. And that fourth DT Luke, which was by far the worst condition of them, the bubble had yellowed. I mean, it was still beautiful, but the bubble had yellowed. And I think there might have even been like a mark on the figure. But it was by far, and with no doubt, the worst condition of the 5.
Yeah.
It went for $10,000 more than the other 4.
Yeah.
And it makes everyone kind of look around and go, oh, is there something about this one that we're not catching? Was it some sort of different card back variant, or was it, 2 guys bidding against each other that kind of panicked? I mean, it was crazy, because there was one after that. There was another one, so it wasn't like that was the last one. So I was curious. I kind of want to know whether there was something special about that one, or whether it was just sort of bitter panic.
I think it was
my assumption.
I think it was an oh crap.
Yeah, my assumption is with 5 of those, the first one you're like, let's just see how this plays out. The second one you're like, I still have 3 more. By the time you get to the 4th and the 5th one, you're like, oh wait, I gotta go.
Yeah, because the first 3, it wasn't like there was any action on the bids either. I think there might have, it was okay. Oh, the last bid online was 22,000, and there might have been 1 or 2 bids. They were online bids, but they might have been 1 or 2 live bids there during when the auction went live. So it wasn't like there was a lot of back and forth on them. And then all of a sudden this 4th one hit, and it just kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So
like Glenn says, it's panic. Like, oh, I better do this now.
Yeah. And then that 5th one fell right back into line with the other 4. Like I said, it was right around, give or take a couple thousand of what the other 3 before that had gone. So I don't know. It was interesting. Those were the things I found, kind of the most interesting. So
yeah.
Did you already talk about what you picked up?
No, I didn't get any of the. So funny story. I did. You get there and kind of the competitive juices start to flow. And I told my friend I was with, I was like, okay, before the auction started, and you kind of start getting excited about it. I looked at him and I said, I'm going to do something stupid today. I can just feel it. I know it's going to happen. I know myself, and I'm going to do something really, really stupid today. And I looked, I said, try to keep me from doing it. And, everyone just kind of chuckled, but so like I said, one of the Vaders, it was like the 3rd or 4th 12-back Vader. And it was, I think, in my opinion, was the nicest one came up for auction. And I think the bid left off online at like $1,400. And I had written down, and I figured out what buyer's premium and tax, kind of what my max bid was going to be. And it was going to be $1,600. And so, the bid starts, and before I get a chance to raise my number, someone bid it up to $1,800. So, which was $200 more than what I set my discipline to max. Okay, Sam, these are the numbers you're going to stick with. You're not going past this. But sure enough, auction fever kicked in, and I raise up my number, and he points at me and says, I got 1,800 right there. I think my number was 6. Bidder number 6, 1,800. And I'm like, I'm getting all excited. And then all of a sudden, all the online bids start happening. And I turn to my friend and say, like, hey, I'm going to get this one. And next thing I know, do I have 3,200?
Oh my God.
He looks right at me. It went from my 1,800 to 3,200 in 4 seconds. So at least I can say for 4 seconds, I was a high bidder on one of the items. But yeah, that was as close as I got. And that goes to show you how kind of, I don't want to say ridiculous, because, hey, it's the market. I mean, the market's going to bear what the market bears. But to most collectors in our world, these prices were well above market price. So, yeah. But I did later in the auction, it wasn't just the Morphy find items. There was, I don't know, one person, or anyways, there was a handful of other items towards the end of the auction that someone else had submitted and consigned with them to auction off. And there was a lot of AFA loose graded figures. And I did pick up 4 AFA loose graded figures. I think I overpaid for one of them, but the other three I didn't get good deals on. By I paid about market price. So so I didn't walk away with nothing. I did get four graded figures that I needed for my graded run that I'm working on. So it was nice, and especially with AFA not grading loose figures now, I think the price of those might go up, but they're for my personal collection. So
yeah,
I was happy with that. I got a Han Solo, big head Han, and I got a Hoth Leia, which was cool, and a Death Squad Commander, and the fourth one was a Chewbacca. I think it was a Chewbacca.
they were really
no,
clean.
it was Hammerhead.
Yeah, I was
they
gonna say it wasn't the
all
Cantina guys, but they were super clean.
Yeah, they were. They looked really. A couple of them were the old case style, which really doesn't bother me any. But yeah, I was happy to walk away with that. It was fun, and it was the auction house was really nice. It was like movie theater seats and things. It was very, very, very high end. They catered breakfast and lunch for everyone that was there in person.
Oh, wow.
And, provided meals. Oh yeah, it's kind of like a casino, where they want to get you liquored up and they want you to stay as long as you can. I think that's sort of the same thought process at this auction house is, hey, keep you in the building. So
yeah, no, I agree with that, because you see that at toy shows when there's no food, people at lunchtime leave and they never come back.
That's right.
Yep.
So yeah, they wasn't their first rodeo for sure on that. And that was just day one of this current auction. There were 3 days. Like I said, they had a bunch of sports cards, which that was cool to see too. I saw like a Ty Cobb baseball card, and they had all kinds of stuff. And they had marbles that were going for all kinds of money. Which I look at a marble, I'm like, how do you know that one's any special than the other marble? But there are crazy marble collectors, just like crazy Star Wars collectors, I guess.
Yeah, we had one of the guys I know off Facebook that was up there. He's looking at all the guns. He's like, everybody's looking at Star Wars, and I'm looking at guns.
Yeah.
What was your favorite piece out of everything that you saw there that you wish? I wish I could.
I'd love to have one of the DT Lukes for sure. And there were a couple of them that were gorgeous. In fact, that first one that went off, I mean, I'm not a grading expert, and I'm sure people would scoff at me, but it wouldn't shock me if it was an 85 plus or a 90. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, the bubble was perfect, clear. The figure might not have been perfect, so that might be what kept the grade down. If it does, I'm sure whoever got it will grade it, I would assume. But
what was wrong with the figure?
Well, the Lukes are difficult. Like around the paint apps around the belt sometimes aren't real good.
Slightly off.
None of them had faded, because a lot of times on the Farm Boy Lukes you see the torso faded. None of them were faded that I remember. But besides that, there was also later in the auction, and it wasn't part of the find. There was a early bird set that sold. That one of these days I'd like to have an early bird set. But if I had 20 grand to have taken with me and spent, that probably would have been one of the two items I would have gone for. So
cool.
I'd show you the Wampa, Glenn, that I sent you pictures of. I mean, that thing was perfect. And one of the person that won that bid, or the won that lot, was there in person, and I actually saw that out of the case, and it's on its way to CAS to get graded right now. Nice. So I did see that one, and that, oh my gosh, that thing was nice.
Yeah, because it was like with two other pieces, and it was like at like $600, and we're like, maybe. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it went for over 1,000, right?
Yeah, because that was one. Honestly, I was like, well, if it stays, within $600-900, that would be one to pick up. Because I think probably the Wampa by itself would be worth that. So
yeah.
The other two pieces you could have sold to help pay for the Wampa, and you'd have been in real good shape. But
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yep. It was nice, real nice. I can't imagine there being another one, a nicer one out there. I mean, that's how the flap had never been folded. And
wow. Yeah. Now, was that off the major lot, or was that the secondary lot?
I think that was part of the find.
Wow.
They did a good job in the catalog of saying, okay, yeah, this was part of the Morphy find, is what they're calling it, even though it wasn't Morphy. Obviously the consigner doesn't want his or her name out there, in public.
I wonder why.
Yeah, right. Although I probably even now after the auction, probably people would still bug them to death saying, "Hey, you got anything else?
Exactly.
What else?
Yeah.
I'm sure you
check
kept a
that
box
barn.
back.
Check the barn one more time."
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it was crazy. It was a good time. It was about a 5.5 hour drive for me, which was, that's a good ways. But like Glenn, like you said, I kind of looked at it as a little minor meetup, with collector friends and stuff. There was probably 6 or 8 people there that I knew that were going. So it was fun to kind of sit in a little cluster and talk throughout the day and hang out. It was a good time for sure.
Very cool.
So why Morphy's? Was it just a local find? Do you know? Like, I don't want to out anyone, but I'm just curious why that?
Yeah.
Why not?
No, I'm pretty sure. So Morphy's was in Pennsylvania, was where the auction house is. And I believe the story is Morphy's sets up, I think, at the Kane County show all the time. They just set up a table saying, "Hey, we're an auction house. We're here if you want to consign anything."
Yeah.
And I think like I said, the person that had this stuff was in the collecting world, just not in the kind of the Star Wars collecting world. So I think they knew about Morphy's through the Kane County show and approached them there, because I'm pretty sure that the collection came from Illinois. I believe is where some of the stuff was, or is where the main part of it was. So I think that's where the kind of connection was made and why they chose Morphy's over the other houses.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that would make sense, because that's sort of the rumor that we heard, that it came out of that King County show.
Yeah.
So if somebody's there with the show going, "Hey, I have this ton of Star Wars stuff."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so like the buyer's premium was 20%, which is in line. I think Hakes is like 18, and I think other auction houses are 22. So I mean, it was kind of so that's what you have to do when you're looking at it. You have to remember, okay, there's another 20% on top of this plus sales tax. So in my mind, I was just rounding up and say, okay, I got to figure an extra 30% on top of the bid price. So the auction house is making 20%, plus they also get a consignment fee from the consigner. That's not public. That's something that they negotiate. But you got to imagine it's 10-15%, I would guess. So so they did all right. They did all right.
Damn.
We're in the wrong business, Jason.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will go through and add up. I mean, and you can go to their website now, I think, and view what all the final prices were and everything. So I mean, I'm sure somebody has already figured out what the total value of the collection was and all that jazz. So yeah,
one of the DTs went for like $34,000 or something like that.
Yeah, so you're talking 42, 44, something like that after all of the taxes and fees. So that's what you got to figure. That's the top end of the market now, is $40,000. So those people that bought them earlier in the day at 22, so call it 30 with all the taxes, they made 10 grand. They made 10 grand in value just sitting there. If you want to look at it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So not bad.
No,
not bad. It's a bigger world out there, fellas, than what we're playing in. I can tell you that.
Yeah. My pond is pretty dry here. I mean, I need to go find another pond.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, but it was a great time. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I went. I didn't, took a couple of days off work and drove up, and it was. I felt like I wanted to see it all. I mean, I'm not going to get a chance probably to see, that quality and that amount of early Star Wars figures still carded like that. So
that's worth the price right there. The mission and driving.
Yeah.
Plus you got free lunch and breakfast.
That's right. Yeah. Heck, it was a hell of a sloppy Joe, guys. It was good. It was good. They had the cookies and all that stuff. Yeah, it was good. I don't know if I got 20% worth out of what I bought, but it was good.
Nice.
Awesome.
So if people want to hear more of this, they can listen to you on David Quinn's podcast.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think might be releasing that soon. So I'm not sure when it'll come out. I'm not sure when this will come out, but yeah.
And then
it'll be a race. Everyone's going to get sick of seeing me.
And then the 5 Idiots, right? The 5 Idiots podcast.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna record that one tonight with them. I think they're doing a live show tonight. So yeah, yep.
So there you go. You can get more different questions probably.
Oh yeah. And David, they were there with the 5 Idiots. A couple of those guys were there too, so they have their own perspective. So they don't, you won't have to just listen to me. I'm not sure why they even need me, but they asked me, so I said sure.
Was David asking about price values and stuff like that and trying to figure out?
Yeah, I was nervous on his. You got to be a lot smarter to be on his broadcast because he really thinks it through and asks really, really good questions. I enjoyed it. It's a good time. I've gotten to know David for the last couple of years, and he's a good friend and even outside of Star Wars stuff. So
yeah. Well, you see, David, go ahead. Sorry,
I said he's just a good dude.
Yeah, David believes in something called production value, and I don't know what that word means.
Yeah.
See, I'm pushing for that. You push back. So there's like
now you guys
have some structure.
I describe your guys' podcasts and YouTube video. It's more of a hang. Your guys' show's a hang, which is cool. And same with the 5 Idiots. I mean, we went out the second night and hung out with those guys, and I told my wife when I got home, I said it's been years since I've hung out with my college buddies, and that's what it was like hanging out with some of my college friends. So it was just a good time, real good time.
Very cool.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Man, thank you.
Hey,
awesome.
No problem. Anytime.
Yeah.
I'm never shy to voice my opinion or share my experiences. So
yeah.
I'm a typical Star Wars fan. What can I say?
Thank you for listening to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. If you could, please leave a like and a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. If it's allowed, it really helps us out and points people to our show. Follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback. We'd love to make you part of the show. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Alfonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. You could find him at Rock the Force podcast. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the music. Hasbro re-release VC66 # vote with your wallet. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. This is the way.
This is the way.